Do you feel stuck with your English? Do you study grammar rules for hours? Do you memorize long lists of vocabulary words? But when you try to speak, the words do not come out. You feel nervous. You feel frustrated. I want you to know something very important. You are not alone. Millions of people feel the same way. They study hard, but they cannot speak English easily and automatically. But it is a problem you can solve. I am here to share a story with you. It is my personal story. It is a story of struggle, but it is also a story of success. I want to show you the exact steps I took. My English journey began with a big wall, a wall of frustration. I remember sitting at my kitchen table late at night surrounded by textbooks and empty coffee cups. The words on the page started to blur together, but I kept pushing myself, hoping that one more hour would make a difference. Sometimes I would study in the library, watching other students laugh and talk easily in English. I felt like I was on the outside, looking in. I had a powerful reason to learn English. I wanted to connect with people from different cultures. I dreamed of traveling, of making friends from around the world, of understanding movies and music without subtitles. But every day the dream felt a little further away. My career also needed English. At work, meetings would switch to English and I would freeze. My heart would race as I tried to find the right words, afraid of making a mistake in front of my colleagues. I would rehearse simple sentences in my head, but when it was my turn to speak, my mind went blank. I felt invisible, like my ideas did not matter. I bought thick grammar books. I filled notebooks with vocabulary lists. I spent hours memorizing rules. I tried every method I could find. Flashcards, language apps, even sticky notes all over my apartment. My walls were covered in English words, but my confidence was still missing. I would listen to English songs and try to write down the lyrics, pausing and rewinding again and again, frustrated when I could not catch every word. I could pass a written test. I could fill in the blanks on a worksheet, but real life was not a worksheet. In the grocery store, I would practice my questions in my head, but when it was time to speak, I would panic and just point instead. I remember once I wanted to ask for a different size at a clothing store, but I could not remember the word. I left the store feeling defeated, but when I met a native speaker, my mind went completely blank. All the rules I memorized disappeared. I would replay conversations in my head for hours afterward, thinking of all the things I wished I had said. The regret would keep me awake at night. It was like knowing all the parts of a car, but not knowing how to drive. I knew the grammar rules, but I could not use them in real time. It was like having a toolbox, but not knowing how to fix anything. I wanted so badly to participate, to share my opinion, but I was trapped behind my wall of silence. In group conversations, I would smile and nod, pretending to understand, even when I was lost. I was afraid to ask for help, afraid to look foolish. Sometimes I would go home and cry, feeling like I would never belong, like English was a door that would never open for me. I remember going to a coffee shop. The person asked me a simple question, for here or to go. I did not understand. I just stared. I felt my face get hot with embarrassment. There were so many moments like this. Ordering food, making a phone call, even asking for directions, all felt like impossible challenges. I would practice what I wanted to say over and over, but when the moment came, my nerves would take over, and I would forget everything. This happened all the time, in stores, on the street, trying to ask for directions. Sometimes people would speak quickly or use slang I had never heard. I would smile politely, pretending to understand, but inside I felt lost and frustrated. I started to avoid situations where I might have to speak English. I missed out on opportunities and experiences because I was afraid of making mistakes. Pronunciation was another huge monster I had to fight. I would practice words alone in my room, and they sounded okay. But in real conversation, my mouth would not make the right shapes. I recorded myself speaking and played it back, cringing at my accent and mistakes. Sometimes I would laugh at myself, but other times I felt like giving up. I watched videos of native speakers trying to copy their mouth movements and intonation, but it always felt unnatural. People would often ask me to repeat myself. Every time they asked, it felt like a small punch to my confidence. But there were also small victories. The first time someone understood me without asking twice, I felt a spark of hope. I started to realize that every mistake was a step forward, not a step back. I learned to celebrate progress, no matter how small. Looking back, I see that the daily battle was not just about English. It was about believing in myself, even when it was hard. Every day, I chose to keep going. If you are fighting this battle too, know that you are not alone. Every learner faces these struggles. What matters is that you keep moving forward, one step at a time. I decided to abandon the old methods. No more boring grammar books, no more memorizing word lists. I realized that what I needed was not just more information, but a new approach. I wanted to make English a living part of my daily life, not just something I studied for a test. I started by changing my environment. I put English sticky notes on everything in my apartment: mirror, fridge, door. Every time I touched something, I said the English word out loud. I changed the language on my phone and computer to English. At first it was confusing, but soon I started to recognize words and phrases everywhere. My first new weapon was listening. I listened to English everywhere, while cooking, cleaning, or commuting. I played podcasts, audiobooks, and YouTube videos, even if I did not understand everything. I found interesting English podcasts on topics I loved. I learned to focus on the rhythm and melody of English, not just the words. I let the language wash over me like music. I listened in my car, I listened while I was cooking. I listened while I was walking. My goal was to get the English rhythm and melody into my head. At first I felt lost, but slowly I started to catch familiar words and phrases. I celebrated every small victory, every sentence I understood. My second weapon was shadowing. This was a powerful technique. Shadowing means listening to a native speaker and repeating what they say at the same time, like an echo. I did this with short videos and movie scenes. I would listen to a short piece of audio from a native speaker. Then I would immediately try to imitate them. Pronunciation, rhythm, intonation, emotion. Sometimes I would record myself and compare my voice to the original. It was hard at first, but I could hear my progress over time. It felt silly at first. I was talking to myself, making strange sounds, but I learned to laugh at my mistakes. I realized that every mistake was a step forward, not a failure. The third weapon was reading out loud. Every single day I would read them aloud for at least 15 minutes. I chose stories, news articles, even social media posts. Reading out loud helped me connect the written words to the sounds of English. This was different from silent reading. When I read aloud, I had to connect the written words to the spoken sounds. I noticed my pronunciation and confidence improving. I started to enjoy the sound of my own English voice. Finally, the scariest but most important weapon, speaking. I started recording myself on my phone. I set a goal to speak for at least 5 minutes every day, even if I was just talking about my plans or describing what I saw outside my window. I would just talk about my day for 2 minutes. When I listened back, it was difficult. I heard all my mistakes, but it was also incredibly useful. Over time, I became less afraid of my mistakes. I started to notice my progress, and that gave me the courage to keep going. I also joined online communities for English learners. I found language partners from around the world, and we encouraged each other to keep practicing. Then I found language exchange partners online. I started having short 15-minute conversations with native speakers. Every conversation was a new challenge, but also a new opportunity. I learned to laugh, to make mistakes, and to celebrate every small success. Looking back, I see that the real transformation was not just in my English, but in my confidence and my willingness to try. I learned that progress comes from action, not perfection. For the first 2 months, I followed my new routine religiously. Some days were hard. I felt tired. I did not always feel like I was making progress, but I trusted the process. I told myself that consistency was the key. Then, around the 3-month mark, something amazing happened. I was watching an English movie, and I suddenly realized I was not reading the subtitles. I was just listening. I was understanding most of it. The wall of sound was finally starting to crumble. My pronunciation also began to change. I was having a conversation with my language partner, and they said, "Wow, your accent is really improving. You sound much clearer." Hearing those words was like a huge burst of energy. This positive feedback was incredibly motivating. This was the breakthrough. My confidence started to grow. I was less afraid to speak. This 3-month milestone was the turning point. It was the crack of dawn after a long, dark night. After that moment, I started to notice small changes every day. I could order coffee without rehearsing my words. I could join a group conversation and actually follow along. I remember the first time I made a joke in English and everyone laughed. It was a simple moment, but it made me feel like I truly belonged. I started to look forward to speaking instead of dreading it. Each conversation became a chance to learn, not a test to pass. My listening skills improved too. I could understand movies, podcasts, and even fast conversations on the street. I was no longer afraid of missing a word. I realized that progress was not always fast or obvious. Sometimes it was just a little more confidence or understanding one more word than yesterday. I celebrated every small win. I would write down my achievements no matter how tiny. Each one was proof that I was moving forward. I started to connect with other learners. We shared our struggles and our victories. We encouraged each other to keep going, even on the tough days. I realized that making mistakes was not something to fear. Every mistake was a lesson. Every lesson made me stronger. There were still days when I felt stuck, but I learned to be patient with myself. I reminded myself that every journey has ups and downs. I found joy in the process. I started to enjoy learning, not just the results. English became a part of my life, not just a subject in school. I started to dream in English. I would wake up and realize that my thoughts were in a new language. That was a magical feeling. The more I practiced, the more natural English felt. I was not just learning words. I was building a new part of myself. If you are on this journey too, remember, your breakthrough will come. It may be slow, but it will happen. Trust yourself and keep going. Celebrate every step, no matter how small. Every word you speak, every sentence you understand, is a victory. The breakthrough moment is not just one big event. It is a collection of small moments, building up over time, until one day you realize how far you have come. Keep believing in yourself. Your breakthrough is waiting for you, just around the corner. The progress I made after the 3-month breakthrough was rapid. More confidence led to more speaking practice. More speaking practice led to faster improvement. I started to notice English everywhere, in street signs and conversations at the park, even in advertisements on the bus. It felt like a new world was opening up to me, one word at a time. I remember the first time I helped a tourist find their way. I gave directions in English and they smiled and thanked me. That small moment made me feel proud and connected. I started to actively seek out opportunities to speak. I was no longer avoiding conversations. I was starting them. I joined a local book club that met every week. At first, I was nervous to share my thoughts, but soon I found myself discussing stories and even making jokes in English. Sometimes I made mistakes and everyone would laugh together. Instead of feeling embarrassed, I learned to laugh too. Those moments made me feel like I truly belonged. By the end of the 5th month, the change was incredible. I could have real, deep conversations. I remember a 1-hour video call with a native speaker where we talked about philosophy and our favorite movies. I started to make friends from different countries. We would meet for coffee and talk about our cultures, our dreams, and our challenges, all in English. These conversations were not always easy. Sometimes I struggled to find the right words, but my friends were patient. Every conversation made me a little more confident. I was not translating in my head. The words were just flowing. I was thinking in English. I started to write my daily journal in English. At first it was slow, but soon my thoughts came more naturally. I could express my feelings and ideas without stopping to translate. I even started to dream in English. I would wake up and realize that my mind was using my new language, even while I slept. I was expressing my true personality. At the end of the call, I realized I had not felt stressed or nervous at all. I could make jokes. I could be serious. I could be empathetic. There were still challenges. Sometimes I misunderstood a question or used the wrong word, but I learned to ask for clarification and keep going. Every mistake was a lesson. not a failure. I celebrated every small win. When I understood a joke, ordered food without hesitation, or helped a friend with their English, I felt a sense of achievement. I started to set new goals for myself, reading a novel in English, giving a short presentation at work, or joining a community event. Each goal pushed me further and made English a bigger part of my life. I learned that fluency is not a finish line. It is a journey of growth, connection, and discovery. The more I used English, the more doors opened for me. If you are on this journey too, remember to celebrate your progress. Write down your achievements, no matter how small. Share your story with others. You never know who you might inspire. I was no longer hiding behind a mask. This was the ultimate victory for me. My journey is still going. Every day I learn something new. Some days are easy, some are hard, but I keep moving forward. That is what fluency really means. So keep going. Celebrate your victories, learn from your mistakes, and enjoy every step of your English journey. You are capable of more than you think. Looking back on my 5-month journey, I learned some powerful lessons. These lessons are the blueprint that you can follow for your own success. The first lesson is to change your mindset. Stop thinking of English as a school subject. Think of it as a practical skill, like learning to play a musical instrument. The second lesson is that your ears are your key to fluency. Before a baby can speak, it listens for months and months. You must do the same. Surround yourself with English. Do not worry about understanding 100%. Create an English bubble for yourself. Change the language on your phone and computer. Speak every day, even 5 minutes. Use voice memos and talk about your day. Then listen back to notice what needs improvement. Finally, find a community. Use HelloTalk. Use Tandem. Join online forums. Schedule 1 or 2 15-minute conversations per week with native speakers. Take action. Start with one tip today. Small daily actions lead to big results. My journey from a frustrated, silent student to a confident English speaker was not about magic. It was about method and mindset. The path I took is a path that is open to you. Your English goals are not distant dreams. I want you to remember my story as proof. If I could overcome my fear, my bad habits, my lack of confidence, then you can too. There is nothing special about me. I simply committed to a process of daily active practice. 10 minutes of listening, 5 minutes of speaking, 1 page of reading aloud. These small steps add up to a giant leap forward. Do not let past failures define your future. Today is a new day. Your journey starts now. Your victory is waiting for you. It is waiting in that confident conversation. It is waiting in that new job opportunity. It is waiting in that new friendship. If I could do it, you can too. Be consistent. Practice every single day. And most importantly, never ever give up on your dream. The world is waiting to hear what you have to say. Now go and speak.